Hello, everybody. Today I have with me Megha Gupta, who got 152 marks in PSIR paper 1 and 131 in paper 2. 283 is the total that she got in political science and international relations. And she has joined us to solve some of your queries. So thank you, Megha, for taking out time for everybody.
Welcome.
So I'll begin asking the most fundamental question that has been asked and sent to us repeatedly. The first one is, Shubhra Ranjan ma'am's notes are sufficient or not? So can you, if you refer to them, or you can answer that if
Yeah.
possible.
So regarding ma'am's note, I think those are sufficient,
Mhm.
but not for both the papers. For example, for first paper, that is the Western political philosopher and Indian political philosopher, and Indian government and politics, we can say that those are sufficient. But for paper two, that is international relation theory and India and the world, I would suggest one to refer the book also, that is the Andrew Haywood or Baylis and Smith, and along with the current affairs where for current affairs for international relation scholars like C. Raja Mohan, and there are multiple of websites like ORF, IDSA. One can refer them to enrich their content.
Mhm. There is a question related to what you just said regarding paper one. There are theorists and there are scholars. So, what is more important to quote? There are some scholars who keep writing regularly in the newspapers or in some of the magazines. So, what is more important to remember and write in the exam? Is it the scholars or the thinkers?
My answer would differ for paper to paper. For example, paper one part A and paper two part A. There you should one should quote the scholars which are mentioned in the syllabus as well. So if we know about them, then like for example, something is said by Aristotle or Plato or Machiavelli, if they are saying something, then we should quote them. But for part B of both the papers, they think differ. So normally these paper are dynamics, like the both B part of both the papers is dynamic. So there we should quote the theorists which are writing in the newspaper. For example, as I mentioned already, that the C. Raja Mohan writes, or any other international relations as Mr. S. Jaishankar is writing, or any other foreign secretary or kind of their counterpart is writing, we can quote them. But for paper A of both the part A of both the papers, we should refer to scholars.
Okay. And you said that for paper one, part A in particular, the notes of Shubhra Ranjan ma'am are sufficient. So can you just
Uh,
refer to the class notes that she provides, or like is there something that is added in the crash course that she provides between prelims and mains? I think.
I
Any.
think in the end exam, when I was writing the main exam, I think at the culmination of both the crash course as well as the main classes, both were came to the picture because I have revised both multiple times, so I cannot segregate between them. But yeah, both played their own part.
And how would you rank in terms of importance if we compare the classes that she takes and the notes which are there? So would you say that if you can just refer to the notes, the class notes that are available in the market, you can refer to them and you will understand it? Or would you recommend that you should also watch her classes to get a good overview of it?
See, it depends upon the background one is having. For example, I am an engineer, so for me, if I am just referring and I have no counter with the political or polity, what is polity? Means of humanities subjects, I have never encountered them with any before. So I think for the humanities students, it would be might be very easier if they just refer the notes. But for any other, like maybe a medical, non-medical, medical engineer who are coming with the technical background, it would be a bit difficult to cover them by their own. It would take more time by referring the books and referring their notes and then doing. So I would suggest them that if they have time and money and time, both things permits, then they should take the classes. It would help them to get better clarity in short time.
Regarding your recommendation, Mega, for taking the classes, so the monetary aspect becomes a little crucial for many people who want to prepare for this exam. The classes are very expensive. So, would you recommend that if you have somebody who is prepared with the same subject, if you know somebody who has done the classes or who has good understanding, or somebody who is with humanities background, if they explain to you some of the topics, uh, do you need to watch all the classes from like beginning to end? Is it so technical that we need to like watch all the classes and refer to them, or there are parts where you will not get the uh, you will need to refer to the classes? So something on that, if you can elaborate, because there will be many who will not be able to afford those expensive classes.
Right. I totally agree with your point that you have made, that there the fee is very expensive in at ma'am's place, and many other coaching places there the fee can be a matter for many students.
Mhm.
And so I would suggest that if you could find some mentor, or if one has them some humanity students who are their friends, who can explain them some subjects, for example, maybe Indian Western thinkers, and then Indian government politics, which is very similar with the what we teach in polity, right? If one can explain them and then they can refer just ma'am's note, it would become very easier. But for some part which are a bit more technical, because I think what I can remember that there like the course is both of BA and MA. It's not just of the graduation only. So one who has done mastery over it, they can maybe explain you few things like the theory. In the theory and ideology one can find difficulties and the concept, and maybe something in the western political philosopher as well. But there are obviously few are very easy concept, for example Indian thinking, and then Gandhianism, and then Indian governance and politics. All these are very easy to understand by their own as well.
Also, this is also a very common query, that if there is some difficulty, then definitely you can refer to YouTube videos. So particularly political science is a very developed subject. You particularly for the Western thinkers, and also for most of the Indian thinkers, you get videos of people explaining them in detail. So can that also be a way of like bypassing the classes, just referring to the notes and understanding it? What are your views on that?
Well, I would say my views are very positive and affirmative on the point you have mentioned, that if one can find out the good quality videos in YouTube, and if they get the better understanding, then they should refer only to the notes rather than going to the classes.
I think I also want to make one point for people who are not able to afford. There is a YouTube channel called Crash Course. It is, I think, an American who runs it, and they have made like crash course videos on important concepts of political science and history. History is my optional, so there also you find really good videos. So probably they can like search for such channels which have like subscribers in millions, because they are liked by many, and probably they can explain them better, and then you can refer to the notes. So thank you for like dwelling on it in detail. uh, the second question that comes after the notes, how did you do value addition to the coaching notes, as you have referred to Shubhra Ranjan ma'am's notes for paper 1, as you said, part A, and also probably for paper 2. So how did you do value addition in both the papers? What sources that you referred to for value addition? Which newspaper did you refer to? And also, apart from that, is there some magazine or a tabloid or some website? So if you refer to them, then you can please elaborate on that.
Yeah. So actually, as like you have already mentioned that about the crash course. So my main thing for the value addition, it was crash course, because in crash course it happens on normally 1 year after, like the year in which you are writing names. Normally one joins the crash course in that year. So automatically all the current affairs and the dynamic things, ma'am is making you, giving you notes. So the value, one of the biggest value addition material is that. Other than that, I would say that for paper part 2A, one can also refer this book, Andrew Haywood. It is very easy clarity about the
Eh,
concept, and they can also.
can you just repeat the name again? Your voice just broke in between.
Okay, the book name is Andrew Haywood. One
Okay.
can refer also this book for value addition, and one can jot down some the keywords and can incorporate them in their notes, and along with when one is writing, then in their answers. And other than that, I don't think that normally people UPSC aspirant read the Hindu or Indian Express and all good theorists write in there. For example, C. Rajamohan, S. Jayashankar, and many others. So that is more than sufficient. If one wants, one can refer ORF, IDSA, but other than that, I didn't refer and I didn't have the time. And I'm actually I won't also recommend, right? These things, these material is more than enough.
I think you got one of the best scores. So if you did not refer, then probably others can also just limit themselves to the newspapers and ORF and the book that you referred to, as well as the scholars. Probably they can do that. Another question which has been asked repeatedly, for paper 2 specifically, if you can uh, give the syllabus pointers where you can add value from specific sources. As you said that paper 2 is dynamic and you need to do some value addition. So if you can specifically point out something for the syllabus points, then it would be great.
So if I would say, I would give here pointers other than ma'am's notes. So let's say someone doesn't want to refer ma'am's notes. So please refer this book, Andrew Haywood or Bayles and Smiths. These are two are gold mine for the international relation content, especially the static part. So one can read these books and can jot down the content according to the question's demand. And other than that, you always refer, like, the good articles are written by, like, when you start reading the newspaper, they will know that there are few every week few international relation theorists are writing. So one would understand that these are writing. So I have, if someone's optional is PSIR, they have to read it. So like C. Raja Mohan writes every Tuesday on Indian Express, so one has to read it. Even if you are very religious on Hindu, but obviously one can refer one article from the Indian Express. And like that, one has to identify which are the theories. So one has to read those. Along with that, in ORF also, there is Observation Research Foundation. There comes a very good article on the different relation between the different country and the multiple grouping also. So one can refer those also. And for the defense kind of article, one can refer IDSA. And these much is more than sufficient. And one can find out, like, all the syllabus out of these four things or these five things which I have told.
Yes. So you said that regarding the newspaper articles and the scholars who write in ORF, etc. Can you, because it is a little difficult, and you must have felt difficulty in your initial days of preparation as well regarding this particular thing, that when you read articles in the beginning, particularly, and when you have not written mains, till that time it becomes difficult to what to take out from the article. So I generally say that when you read an article from GS perspective, then you take out minimum 2 points and maximum 5 points, because everything you cannot take out from the article, because the rest of the things will be there in your static notes. So if you like, what would you suggest for your optional? How do you observe or analyze an article and take down notes, and in what format can you take down notes? Anything on that?
So for that, I would suggest that please jot down those lines where you find some keywords, right? In every article, you will find that there are some keywords. For example, let's say they have written some word like prosperity to, I would say that covert to overt operation, right? So somewhere they have used, right? And uh, prosperity to the region, like, so these would be, there would be, you will find, like, one will find some keyword around these in every line. Not in every line, but there would be few lines where keywords would be used. So one should always jot down such words and always make a copy of that notes. Like, they should write in the pointer basis all these words which are very specific, because they will add value to the material. And if one knows and one understand particularly these keywords, then they can write anything in the language, obviously relevant to the questions. So one can find out, again, as you said, two minimum, two maximum five. This as the same formula also applies for the optional also, but I would suggest that jot down only mostly those points where cracks is written or the keyword is written. So that's how one can form the notes out of one article.
Okay.
From the theorist.
One more question that I personally have is, there are many diplomats for officers of the Indian Foreign Service or maybe the foreign minister or the prime minister who are talking about international relations and on international relations. For example, S. Jaishankar gives these occasional speeches uh, once in a while, or maybe for G20, the Sherpa, or I think Harshvardhan Shringla, I think the name of the guy who was heading it. So is it also useful to watch their speeches or their interviews and take down keywords or anything from there, or will that written text be better?
I wouldn't suggest that because if some big events happens, for example, G20 happened now, or before that ASEAN summit was there, EAS summit was there. So almost all people would be writing article in one or another newspaper. If one goes to just read that thing, that would be much more clear and will take a lot of time. One cannot devote so much of time during preparation. So just like focus on the key people. For example, you asked about the Harshvardhan Singla. If I am not mistaken, then he was a ex foreign secretary also,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
So like these people become important to, like, if someone wants to read other than, like, let's say if your key theorists are not writing upon this, as Jaishankar is not writing, or maybe Minister Raj Kumar is not writing, then one can refer to other important very important people like our Prime Minister or Harshvardhan Singla. Otherwise, one should not focus too much on these, because you will anyways you will be finding those key statement in the magazine also. If one is referring the monthly magazine, they will find such key things also. So I think too much focus should not be given any particular topic. Only just keep this thing that if we are devoting too much time on this, so we are wasting our time in a way.
I think that is a very important point that you made, because videos take a lot of time to consume and then something to take out from there. And while articles are written after thinking about the concept, and then they write in a crux format. So probably that people can take away from here. You refer to magazines. So is there anything from the normal magazines, Vision or Insights or magazines that we have in the market? Uh, are we supposed to note down something from there, from the IR portion or the polity portion, or are there some specific magazines that you have for PSIR that you can refer to other than that?
Uh, Frankly speaking, these magazine would help not help much in their optional,
Mm-hmm.
because they are written in very general line so that
Mm-hmm.
every student of any optional can understand.
Mm-hmm.
So they are not written in very technical line, technical way as we normally read in any optional,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I would suggest, but yeah, there would be some data one can find, and if some question answer comes, and if they can quote data, that would always fetch them better marks. That would always remain. But solely relying on this monthly magazine for optional, I won't suggest that. And again, any particular magazine, if I think one is referring current affairs newspaper, that would be much more than sufficient than reading any particular magazine.
And anything on EPW, people who are doing
Yeah,
IR in JNU, they used to do it all the time.
yeah,
So
yeah, I was about to mention the EPW and down to earth. Those are written in very detailed manner, and those are also economic and political weekly. That is not too much focus on the international relation, right? And the similar case is also with the down to earth, right? So for even for the GS, those are written in very detailed manner. So better than referring them, one should refer their monthly magazine. For one or two other articles which we are normally not finding good in our magazine, one can refer them, but not it should not be made habit to read them.
one question that I have based on your observations is that sometimes what one can do in other optionals or maybe GS papers, if you are reading some topic and you are not able to find a scholar or a contemporary viewpoint on that, then probably you can just Google and find out articles from these scholars. So that can also be a good way of doing it. Do you think so? Do you agree with it?
Right. I totally agree with it. That I would like to second this point that yes, one if one wants, so when one starts to reading this PSIR, so one would know that okay, this person writes in this direction. Maybe for agriculture, someone is writing, and maybe some other person is writing in the India-US relation. Other one is writing for India-China relation. Someone is writing for India-Nepal relation. So if let's say one has not read the newspaper religiously, so before exams one can simply search on the Google and just got that what the key points author normally say or what the views of that particular author remains in on the particular direction. So normally what happens that one article like the author remains normally either against of that particular country or in the favor of the particular country or maybe the situation. So when one starts to know reading their article, they know that okay, this person will always most in the most of the situation he will favor that particular thing. So even if in the exam we cannot recollect the exactly words, but we can frame our own sentences keeping that their viewpoint or their thinking point in the mind. So this one also can be.
So what I understood from what you said is that there will be some scholars who will be having probably pro USA sentiment in all of their articles. So you can maybe generalize what would they say, and then probably if you do not know exactly what they said in the newspaper, probably you can make up something and write in the newspaper in your exam. So that can
Right.
also be done, right? Because we do it in other papers all the time. Uh, right. That is a very good insight that I got from you, and probably people will also follow it. Regarding paper 2B, I think more than 50 people asked it specifically. Uh, Probably people are not able to handle the paper 2B part, the dynamic part of it. Although you have referred the basic pointers for everything, but if there is something else that you want to add for paper 2B, the dynamic part of it.
Uh, I would suggest that for every question, keep at least 4 or 5 pro scholars and 4 or 5 against scholar for every country. And one should focus mostly, majorly on the neighborhood and then the bigger power like China, USA, Russia, right? Or EU also. And in multilateral, because now we are focusing, UPSC focusing much more on the multilateral institution like UN, WTOs, ARC, G20, because G20 is happening. So if one always like one prepares the notes for these things, 4 5 for pro scholar, 4 5 against scholar, one something neutral, few some 10 12 keywords and one good lines. I think one can prepare a very good answer along with if one can also substantiate it with the data, that would probably good fetch anyone good marks.
Okay, okay. One question is related to the IR static part. So how do you cover it? You can please
Yeah.
reflect on it.
So IR static part, see, if someone wants to refer ma'am's note, those are good. But along with, again, I would say if someone doesn't want to refer, then still you have to refer Andrew Haywood or Belizer and Smith book. Those are much more than sufficient for the stat part.
And you can also add these two books, notes from these two books to ma'am's notes as well.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely one can add. The books are written in very good format and in very easy format to understand.
Okay.
One can do.
Generally, in other optionals, it is suggested that if you read the reference books, then you get a really good understanding of the topic. Is it the same in PSIR as well? Rather than just referring to the notes, you can also give a very quick reading of the optional books, these two books probably that you're referring to, and then refer to the notes. Is there something that you would like to point out because you scored really well in these papers? Or is it time? Is it a waste of time? Sorry.
For paper one, the books are very bulky. Maybe OP Goba or the Fadia book. Those are very bulky books. So if one start or some Ankit book, Ankit sir book, I can't recall the name. Those books are very bulky. So if one start reading them end to end, it will take a lot of time. So that's why I said that to restrict yourself to ma'am's note. But for the paper two, again, I'm saying that ma'am's note I didn't find that the map's note were that comprehensive. That's why I said that these books, like especially Andrew Haywood, that book is very good. If one restrict themselves to that book, they would probably fetch very good marks.
Okay, okay. So from here, I think the content part is very much clear. Uh, Now there are questions related to answer writing that people have sent. So the first question is basically regarding who somebody who has not written a single answer on PSIR. Probably they have read the subject. So what should be the approach for writing answers? Should you write some PYQs on a daily basis, or you should directly join a test series? Because generally when you join a full test series, then it happens that you can't write the 20 questions in the first go, and then you get demotivated. So what are your observations based on your own experience?
So I would suggest that it actually, you said very right that writing, joining a test series is straightly directly before mains and then writing 20 question, it's really very hectic and very uphill task for normal people. So it would be suggested that one should do practice of both. That is the daily, on the daily basis also one can write 5 question, and also PYQ, doing PYQ is a must for any subject, be it GS, be it optional. Doing PYQ gives you whole understanding that what type of question are being asked, like what topics become important. So if one follows that, or if one simply writes five PYQ for every day, maybe not every day, every alternate day, that would also be very helpful for them when they will join test series finally before the mains. So yeah, just directly jumping to the test series before mains is not advisable from my side. Rather, doing it bit by bit gradually, it will help you to also maintain like how to write and how to, how to remember, how to recall, and how one can frame the sentences all in all this way. The writing, practicing the answer writing before the exam will certainly.
So suppose you're writing PYQs, 5 PYQs on every alternate day. If you do not have the resources to probably join a test series, or how would you evaluate those answers? Is there some way that you can yourself evaluate the answers, or probably if you are a group of 2 or 3, then you can evaluate each other's answers, or probably look at the toppers copies? Is there anything that one can do on his or on her own without joining a test series, for basically looking at the quality of answers that they are writing, or whether they are improving or not? Anything on that, if you can?
Initially, evaluating your own answer copy is very difficult task, because we don't know what to incorporate in answer and what to not to incorporate in answer. It happens. Obviously, we can refer to the topper's copy, but topper's copy also, all toppers copies are not written in very good manner, right? Because they might be happen that they are very initial copies, when they are also not very prepared, because they, like normal coaching walas, upload all the copies of. So it also become difficult to find out the best paper of there. And it also depends upon the person individual capacity to know that how they understand that what are their takeaways from the toppers copies, right? It becomes difficult. So I think for initially one should either join a test series, like, or if not, then probably find your peers who have given mains, or if not given mains, they have some understanding of like how to check an answer. And when one do, and when like 5 6 copies are checked, then one personally find out, so, okay, I'm doing this mistake, I should have incorporated this thing, should have incorporated this scholar. So they start getting understanding, and then one can easily check their own answer, that where we are mistaking or where we can read. But initially it's a difficult and uphill task to do this.
On this topic, I personally believe that I think there is a lot of weightage given to foundation coachings. Rather, the evaluations and the answer writing you do gives you better results compared to the money that you put in and the time that you put in. So probably you can invest more money and resource in just getting your answers evaluated from anywhere, rather than probably spending a lot on GS coaching in particular, where that is expensive and doesn't really help. So, would
I
you agree?
totally, I totally agree with the point, because I myself have not done any GS coaching, and I totally relied on the coaching and whatever the material is present in the internet, and I just did for optional, and invested more, like most money in the test paper and the answer writing, all evaluation part. So this was the very pertinent point that you raised, that if one has the paucity of money, then they should, rather investing money and time in GS coaching, they should invest in the better test series and evaluation.
Uh, Also, you didn't join any coaching, and then you secured rank 674, if I remember correctly, and you scored 152 in paper one. So, a lot of people, when we shared your mark sheet and told the community that if you have questions to ask, then you can. A lot of people basically ask this question over and over again. How did you score so well in paper one? What was your major reason? What was the major process behind that score? It's a tremendous score in any year, 152.
I would say that it's a bit of luck, and also I revised paper one almost 15, 16 times. I revised that was on my tip. Even if I'm sleeping and you just wake me up and say that, tell me about the theory of democracy, I will tell you end to end, like what are the scholar, what every scholar reads, and what we have to write in introduction, how to end. So I have revised it like 15, 16 times. So even when I wrote this paper, like exam, then we do not have much time before GS exam. Only one day was given. So I revised both the paper in like at least once in that duration in the one day, like the both the paper one part A, part B, paper two, part A, B. So before the mains, I have revised at least wrote in the mains duration of 3 months. I wrote at least 10 tests of both the papers and revised it multiple times, at least right 15, 16 times. So if one revises it so many times, one would probably like even can get more than marks of 152.
So you are giving the credit of your marks to the revisions that you did, and the
Yeah,
because you were able to recall everything in the exam. That's when you get.
everything.
uh,
Yeah, everything was on my fingertips.
Okay. So another question related to answer writing is a very basic question related to intro, body, and conclusion. So Vikram Grewal, when he did not get a really good score in optional papers, got rank 51 eventually. He said in one interview that although if you look at his history optional copies, you will find that he should be rewarded maybe 400 out of 500. But he did not get rewarded good marks because he said that he did not follow the intro, body, conclusion template of UPSC. Rather, he dwelled into something else. So this question comes from there, and also like people have also raised it. What to do in intro, body, and conclusion ideally? Like what should be included irrespective of the paper, or maybe there are different approaches. So anything on that from your.
See, introduction, body normally what I would first of all tell that what should one write in the body, and then I will go for introduction and conclusion. In body, normally one should tell or one should write about that what is the question being asked, like the relevant answer, what should be the pinpoint answer that should one write in the body part. Now let's come to the introduction. So introduction and conclusion would differ from question to question. So for example, in few question in optional also one can define some definition. For example, some question is based us about the state, right? Theory of state. You know that this question is theory of state. So if one can quote that how one scholar defines the state, right? How one or two scholars defines the state. If one can write in those languages, so the examiner would know, first of all, the particular aspirant is aware that who writes for the state, like the who are the scholars, and also knows that the exact word that what they are written. So it leaves a very good impression. And these are few key hacks that I applied for the first paper. That's why I can say that I got good marks. So I know that in this I have to write the definition. So mostly one have to, and for other thing, for example, the question is directly from the scholars, like the Aristotle is called something something, right? Or Macpherson is called this thing. So in that question, I will define about the Aristotle books. If we write the book, that also leaves very good impression. That makes the examiner feel that the person is well read. Even he know the book's exact name also. That feels that this person has not just read from any very superficially, but he has got deep down, or she has got deep down to the subject. Even these are few hacks. Even if you have not got down and you have read superficially, but if he or she applies some hacks, so he or she is bound to get good marks. And in the conclusion would normally in optional would not be very effective as the GS. You one should write very normal, maybe the whole summary or some way for whole summary, because normally what this in paper one or paper two, the things are being asked of the future. But obviously, if one can found the some context in the present or maybe in the future, so they can write those things in the conclusion.
Okay, that's very well put, I think. One more question regarding paper two answer writing. Uh, are there some essentials that you should not miss? Just like in paper one, you said that if you can mention the theorists, if there are two theorists who are talking about it from both the sides, you can show them. So is there, so probably a Machiavelli and then somebody who speaks against him. And also that you said that you need to mention the books as well. So probably the Prince you can quote, the Leviathan you can quote while writing their names as well. So that can be done. Similarly, are there some essentials for paper two of PSIR in terms of answer
Yeah.
writing?
Yeah. So for paper 2A, whatever I think I have just spoken would remain same, because paper 2A is again is very static. So one has to write the definition given by the scholars, or one can quote some books or etc. If you know, and especially in the conclusion, again the futuristic thing or the presenting something is going related to the question being asked, one can find out that would be a good conclusion. Now we move to paper part 2B, and part 2B is again mostly dynamic. Like the most of the thing is that dynamic. So I think again I have actually told this thing half in the previous questions answer also, that one should be ready with the few 4 5 pro and 1 4 5 against the thing. And here it is very mandatory that one is underlining all the keywords, because normally though in those places the examiner's eyes goes directly, okay, this looks very pertinent, this looks the relevant keyword. Okay, and in the intro what we can write that if some scholar has given very good lines for Indian and Japan relationship, okay, and for India and Pakistan relationship, if you know that scholars and you can quote those lines, then again it fetches a very good impression. Along with that, here you can quote the data or maybe some figure or all these things one can quote. And in conclusion, again, it depends upon how you mostly one should always give a conclusion which should be very fruitful or very futuristic, and making the relationship between India and with a different country in a good way, and showing India in a good light, not very pessimistic or showing India in a bad light. So if one writes answer in such a way, they also will get good marks in paper 2 as well.
Okay. Also, one query that people have, because there are some who are living around me or like friends with me and writing mains this year, and they had this query continuously, that how much of it should be in paragraph and how much of it should be in points format, because most of the toppers, the copies that are available, they generally write in paragraphs. But there are few who write in points as well. So how would you respond to that?
So for optional paper, normally it is advised to write in a para form, and the reason being it is like more attached to, like normally we the one who is taking the humanity subjects, they those people in their graduation and also in the post graduation write in those format only, like paragraph format. And the examiner would be mostly like DU professors and JNU professors, kind of these people. So they are very abreast of this kind of writing. So if let's say someone is writing in point format, that is not wrong in any way, but that does not leave as good impression as might be left if you had written the same answer in the paragraph style. That's why it is normally recommended, and mostly why we are writing in GS, because in paragraph format, because there's are the different point. But here the normally the paragraph is in a continuity. If we are talking about the state of democracy, theory of democracy, so in one point in 5 4 line we will be telling about the positive, or we will be telling about that how one scholar defined, and then another paragraph we can tell about that how other scholars defining, or how what are the against. That's why it is normally suggested that to write in a paragraph format rather than.
I think the voice broke between, but now the network stable. I think I got your point regarding why you should write in paragraph format in the optional papers. It is pertinent if you can write in the paragraph formats, but occasionally, if at all, you can use points as well. How much underlining that you do, and do you
uh,
give it any importance? Is underlining important?
Underlining is important because, as I already mentioned, that the writer eyes directly goes to those points where you underline. So writing the keywords and underlining them is important both for pre and for means. No one has so much time that they will read your end-to-end answer, but they will read only those points which you have himself or herself highlighted.
Anything on flowcharts? Do you use flowcharts in optionals, like making?
Normally, no, I didn't refer, but I don't think that, because one is referring to so many scholars and data and definition, that there is so much demand of telling these things. Uh, I don't find that in optional, at least in the humanity option, there is so much need other than maybe history or geography. I don't think that there is so much of need of making charts and diagrams.
In IR questions, do you make world map and show different countries and regions and make some sort of like visual presentation just to get extra
But,
mark?
but yeah, one can make, but I had not time to make. I didn't had make, but if one wants, one can make obviously.
Okay. How many mock tests should one do um, in an ideal case? The minimum that you would recommend.
At least one or two sessional tests and one or two full tests for each paper. Like part A, one sectional, part 1B, one sectional, part 2A, one sectional, one or two, whatever you have time, or part 2B, and then one or two full tests. This much. So
Okay.
at least it would sound 8 to 10. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So these are the questions regarding answer writing, and there are some very silly questions from beginners. What my experience has been with respect to beginners is that they are just like in GS, you are stuck in the Parliament chapter and you spend a month on Lakshmikant when the Parliament chapter
Right.
comes. So in your PSIR, I've seen that people start reading Western political thought and they end the year by just they are still reading Western political thought.
Right.
So how to get out of WPT and like go to the next, like how much time should you devote to just
Uh,
covering the Western political thought, because it covers a huge syllabus.
I think Western political thought is one of the most important also. So, but giving more than 15, 20 to 20 days is just time, waste of time, as you said. So, 15, 20 days are much more than enough. Just make a timeline that on the first day I have to cover one or two scholars, because like few starting scholars are maybe lengthy. For example, Aristotle is one scholar which is very lengthy. Karl Marx is very lengthy, but few other scholars like J.S. Mill or maybe Hobbes, Locke, those are small scholars. So one can get down with them easily and very early also.
Okay, that's good to know. This is a repeat question, I would say, that has been like we covered it in our conversation. The question is that how do you prepare on your own without any foundation coaching? So probably, as you mentioned, you can probably take out the coaching class notes and then read them, and somebody can explain them to you, or maybe you can refer to the YouTube. The second
Yes.
question is, so the beginners always ask for a book list. So if you can just start like mention the book list if there is any.
Yes.
You've mentioned it over and over again, but for them, if you can.
I think because I am also cannot recall all the books. I didn't refer any book for paper ones, but OK Goba is one. That is one can refer for political ideologies, and then for IGP one is book Ankit, Ankit Fadia. Some Fadia is name. I cannot recall the exactly. Some Fadia is the book. And again, for paper 2A, I have told that Andrew Haywood's or Bellis and Smith. And for paper 2B, because that is very dynamic, I think that would be better if one can refer only Indian Express, Hindu, ORF, and all, rather than finding some, because that is the at least the static part is as similar as the GS.
Okay. There's one question from a beginner who says that I've completed one reading of my optional. Now I'm going to appear for the first time in 2024. What should be my course of action regarding like what can be a good plan? So how much time? Because today when we are recording it, it is 15th of September. So the next prelims exam is on 26th of May and mains begins in the mid of September. So what can be a good course of action for somebody who wants to do PSIR in this 1 year in the best possible manner?
So I would suggest that at least if you have done one reading, so then do second reading also in the next 2 3 months, and then join some test series. Or if one cannot start with some joint test series, then they should start referring the PYQ, start doing the answer writing, and like at least they should write 5 to 8 question in a sitting. And if they will do at least even not in a, let's say, not in alternative mode, but even in the weekend, then even that would be very good for answer writing purpose. Because if one start answer writing from November or mid of the November, like after Diwali also, then they can for till January or February 15, till then they would have a very good, quite sufficient experience. And also they might have also, because before giving an exam, you one or like normally revises, so they might have revised it also 3-4 times, so that would make a quite a good base before one's meals.
Okay, I think Megha, you patiently answered like all the questions that were sent to us. Uh, Probably, like people who do not have guidance or direction as of now, although there are many toppers videos available, but still, their questions we try to answer, and you took out time for it. And I'm very thankful to you for taking out time. And I hope that you will be guiding everybody in the future as well. Thank you so much.